Clean up this mess. You're a worthless leech, my brother yelled at his rooftop party. Then fix your professional life, I shot back, silently sabotaging his $12 million deal because the land he was selling, it was mine all along. I was told to clear the mess. You're a worthless freeloader, my brother sneered at his lavish rooftop celebration. I shot back, fix your own career, as I quietly derailed his $12 million deal tied to property I secretly controlled. My name's Ethan. I'm 30, and I've learned the hard way that sharing a last name doesn't mean someone has your back. Growing up, my older brother Marcus was the golden child. Every move he made was celebrated. Good grades, proof of his hard work, a solid internship, a sign of his brilliance. Meanwhile, I was the quiet kid, always deep in thought, still finding my way. At first, I wasn't resentful of Marcus. I figured everyone's path is different, and mine was just slower. But as we grew older, his playful jabs turned into sharp insults, then outright ridicule at family gatherings, cloaked as humor. No one stopped him. Not our parents, not our aunts or uncles. Why would they? Marcus was the star, the one everyone bet on. I worked in what they still call internet stuff. I started early, teaching myself how markets function, how to generate passive income, and how to thrive digitally. Things tough to explain over holiday dinners, but it paid off. I kept it low-key, reinvested my profits, and expanded my ventures while living modestly. By 28, I'd built multiple income streams, enough to ditch the 9-to-5. Try explaining digital trading or crypto staking to relatives who think you're unemployed if you don't wear a suit to work. Once, my mom asked if I was struggling financially because I had too much free time. I just nodded and said I was fine. She never asked again. Then came Marcus's big moment. He landed a director position at a mid-tier real estate firm. You'd think he'd invented flight. My parents went all out, hosting a party like it was a gala. They booked a swanky rooftop venue, hired caterers, set up decorations, and even had menus printed with "Congratulations, Marcus" in bold silver letters. I got an invite like everyone else with a note from Mom. Don't be late and dress appropriately. This is important to him. I didn't take it personally. I was genuinely happy for him and showed up in a charcoal blazer and polished shoes, carrying a small gift, a bottle of aged whiskey Marcus once mentioned liking. The place was buzzing when I arrived. Cousins were clapping, soft music filled the air, and Marcus stood at the center, grinning like a celebrity. When he spotted me, he waved me over, but not before eyeing my outfit with a subtle smirk. "Hey, Ethan," he said, giving me a half-hearted hug. "Didn't know you owned anything this sharp." I chuckled. "Didn't know you knew what modesty looked like." He flashed a grin, but his eyes were icy. That set the tone for the night. During the toasts, yes, there were actual toasts, Dad said, "We're so proud to have raised such a driven, accomplished man." Then he added, "Marcus is the real pride of this family." That word, real, stung like a jab. I scanned the room. No one batted an eye, not even Mom. She just smiled and dabbed her eyes. When the champagne came out, I raised my glass with the others, but the fizzy drink couldn't mask the knot in my throat. Things got worse. A waiter approached, handed me a trash bag, and said, "Your brother asked you to help tidy up. Start with the bottles." I froze. What? Before I could respond, Marcus leaned over from the bar, loud enough for others to hear. "Come on, pitch in. It's not like you've got a job to rush to." People nearby snickered. I forced a grin, took the bag, and started collecting empty glasses. An aunt commented, "Nice of him to lend a hand." I couldn't tell if she was sincere or mocking. It didn't matter. Later, I stood by the balcony, sipping my drink, staring at the city skyline. Marcus sauntered over, his flashy gold watch gleaming under the string lights. It was one of those oversized ones, screaming for attention. "Maybe one day you'll land a real job," he said, swirling his glass. "Then we can throw a party like this for you." The dig was clear, but I stayed calm. I glanced at my own watch, a simple leather-strap model I liked for its understated style. Then I met his gaze. "Funny how my useless money out-earns yours now." His smirk vanished. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked, voice sharp, loud enough to draw a few glances. "You sitting around playing with apps or whatever doesn't make you a success," he snapped. "It makes you a mooch." That was new, raw, and cruel. My chest tightened, but I kept my cool. I raised my glass, gave a slight nod, and said, "To the only winner here who still answers to a boss." Something shifted. His jaw tightened. His grip on his drink stiffened. For the first time, I saw a flicker in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe fear. But I wasn't finished. He tried to laugh it off, too loudly. "Right, because living off algorithms is real work," he said, stepping closer. "You think all this?" He gestured at the party, the crowd, the view. "Just happens? This is real effort, real grind." You wouldn't last a day in my world. I didn't flinch. You're right, I said. I wouldn't, because I'd never trade my freedom to climb someone else's ladder. Just then, Dad walked over, catching my last words. What's this about? He asked, brow raised. Marcus straightened up. Nothing, just chatting, he said, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. I felt it, a crack forming, something deep and long buried breaking open. This wasn't just about his job, it was about control, about who got to shine, about who was the favorite. Marcus's demeanor changed after that. He didn't lash out, but his smile for the rest of the night was forced, hiding a bruised ego. It was the kind of smile that said, "This isn't over." I wasn't surprised. Marcus always kept score, holding on to every slight. Unlike me, he didn't let things go. He thrived on settling them. The next morning, I woke to a long group text from Mom, vague but pointed, about keeping the peace and how family events should be about unity, not rivalry. She didn't name me, but the target was clear. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, she texted me privately. "You upset Marcus on his big night. Was that necessary?" I stared at the screen, tempted to respond, but instead I locked my phone and set it down. For a week, I stayed quiet. No posts, no texts, no check-ins. That seemed to rattle them. On Thursday, my cousin Liam texted, "Hey, random question, but how do you actually make money?" I smirked. I knew what was happening. Marcus was fishing, trying to figure out how I lived without a real job. I gave Liam a vague, polite answer and left it at that. Then on Friday, my accountant emailed me. Someone had tried to access one of my old websites, a minor e-commerce side project. The IP traced back to my hometown. I didn't confront anyone. I just updated my passwords, added extra security, and locked everything down. But it confirmed what I suspected. Marcus couldn't let it go. A week later, Mom invited me to brunch. Just us. She said she missed me. I almost skipped it, but got curious. When I arrived at the cozy downtown cafe, she was stirring her coffee, looking like she was bracing for a tough talk. "Ethan," she said as I sat, "why do you always make everything a contest?" I gave a dry chuckle. "Mom, Marcus called me a mooch at his own party. I didn't start this," she sighed. "You know how he gets when he feels challenged." "Challenged by what?" I asked. "By someone who didn't follow his path and still came out ahead?" She didn't answer. Instead, she asked if I was okay financially, with that same concerned look she'd given me when I was 22 and figuring out life. I looked her in the eye. "Mom, I earn more in a month than Marcus does in a quarter, and I don't need anyone's permission to take a day off." Her face froze, not upset, but stunned, like she couldn't process it. Then came Monday, and everything exploded. My phone lit up with notifications, tags, comments, alerts. Marcus had posted a smug LinkedIn rant about phony entrepreneurs and how some people only succeed through luck or family handouts. He didn't name me, but anyone at the party knew who he meant. The post ended with a jab. "In the real world, we don't toast to code. We earn respect the hard way." I was livid but stayed calm. I don't fight online. That's not my style. Instead, I focused on something I'd been working on for years, something my family didn't know about. While Marcus was chasing promotions and LinkedIn clout, I'd been quietly buying real estate in our old neighborhood. I fixed up properties and rented them out at reasonable rates, all under a business name unlinked to me. It wasn't about wealth, it was about building something lasting. Here's the kicker. Marcus's company was eyeing that same area for a big development. I'd seen their plans. They needed my properties to make it happen. I wasn't just some guy playing online, I was the landowner. 3 days later, I got a call from an unfamiliar local number. I almost ignored it, but picked up. "Hello, this is Laura Stein from Crestview Realty," the voice said. "We're working on a property acquisition for a development in the Westfield area. You're listed as the managing partner for Horizon Ventures LLC. We'd like to discuss purchasing your properties on Carver Street." I leaned back, grinning. I'd been waiting for this. I stayed polite. "I'm listening." She launched into a polished pitch, big numbers, early blueprints, vague talk of community impact. I let her talk, nodding occasionally, until she mentioned, "The project is led by Sable and Partners. You'd be working with their director, Marcus Keller." There it was. I thanked her, said I'd review the offer, and hung up. The next day, I emailed a polite rejection, copying my lawyer and property manager. I didn't counter or negotiate, just said I wasn't selling. 12 hours later, Marcus called. "Ethan," he said, voice taut, "what are you doing?" I played dumb. "What do you mean?" "Don't play games. Horizon Ventures, that's you, isn't it? Since when do you own property in Westfield?" I paused. Since you were still leasing your fancy car. Why? He pressed. I pictured him pacing in some corner office, gripping a desk. This isn't a hobby, he said. This is my career, my promotion, my team. You're tanking it to spite me. I stood staring out my window at the city below. I'm not tanking anything, I said. I just don't want to sell, it's not personal. He laughed, bitter. Don't lie. You're still pissed I called you a mooch. I took a breath. No, Marcus. I'm just done tolerating people who disrespect me. That includes you. You're being childish, he snapped. No, I said firmly. You're just not used to me having leverage. If your company didn't do their homework and missed that I own a chunk of your site, maybe you're the one who needs to rethink who's the professional here. He went quiet, then softer. You could ruin me. You already ruined me once, I replied. My confidence, my pride, and a family that saw me as second best. Maybe it's your turn. I hung up. The fallout was swift. Marcus didn't call again, but my lawyer forwarded a second offer, nearly double the first. I declined. A third came, with a deadline and a note from Sable's managing partner. I ignored it. Then Dad called, out of the blue. We hadn't really talked in months beyond holiday texts. He skipped pleasantries. Ethan, what's going on with Marcus's project? Did he ask you to call? I replied. He sighed. He's under a lot of pressure. You know how work can be. I know what power looks like, I said. A long pause. You've made your point, he said quietly. He was wrong to humiliate you, but this doesn't just hurt him. It affects us all. That old family weight hit me. The same family that laughed when Marcus mocked me, that called him the only success, that handed me a trash bag. You want to talk about appearances? I said, voice low. Let's talk about what it looked like when your son was shamed in front of everyone and you said nothing. He started to speak, but I cut him off. I'm not selling, Dad. If that's tough for Marcus, maybe he needs to learn not everything's handed to him. The call ended. My heart raced. Not from anger, but from something sharper. I'd broken the rule. Keep the peace, even if it costs you. This time, I wasn't paying the price. Thanksgiving came. The first I'd attended in years. I'd planned to skip it, but Grandma, 84 and sharp as a tack, left a voicemail. Ethan, you don't need to prove anything, but I'd love to see you. Bring that wine you always pick. Ascended. I'll save you a seat. So I went, carrying a bottle of red and a pie. Mom greeted me like nothing had happened, but the house felt heavy. Marcus sat at the table's head, fake smile in place, next to a man in a sleek suit with a gaudy watch. Corporate backup, clearly. Ethan Keller? Bruce Larson? He introduced himself, shaking my hand firmly, eyes assessing. Marcus stood slowly. Glad you came, he said. Wouldn't miss Grandma's apple tart, I replied. Dinner was strained. Small talk about jobs and trips filled the air, but the tension between Marcus and me was palpable. His fiancée made a snarky comment about people who don't play ball. I sipped my drink. Grandma cut in, staring at her. Funny how some forget who built the foundation. Silence. Marcus laughed it off. Always with the puzzles, Grandma. She didn't smile. Not a puzzle. After dessert, Bruce pulled me into the study, closing the door. I'll cut to it, Ethan. Sable's offering 3.5 times market value, final offer. But it's not about the money, is it? I leaned against a shelf. Go on. Your portfolio's impressive, he said. But blocking this doesn't help you long term. You're burning bridges. I smiled. I don't need those bridges, Bruce. I don't need the money, the deal, or Marcus's approval. If you want my land, build around it or wait. I'm not selling. He stared, unused to hearing no. That's final? Final. Marcus was waiting outside. How'd it go? He asked Bruce. Your brother's not budging, Bruce said. Marcus's jaw clenched. You're making a mistake, Ethan. No, I said. You made it a game when you called me a freeloader, made me clean up, humiliated me, and trashed me online. I'm done letting it slide. He stepped closer. You'll regret this. I smiled. Maybe, but not today. I walked away, sat next to Grandma, and dealt cards, letting the room stew. The consequences hit hard. Without my land, the Westfield project stalled. Investors backed out, the board asked questions, and Marcus was reassigned to a lesser role, client relations, a dressed-up demotion. No announcement, but Liam sent me a LinkedIn screenshot of Marcus's new title. Gossip spread. My parents, once distant, started texting more, saying they were proud, though never apologizing for the past. I didn't need their validation anymore. I'd built a life I loved, my way. Marcus and I barely talk now. At family gatherings, he keeps things light, avoiding real estate. The last time we met, he joked, "Some people don't play nice." I raised my glass. "Some people don't play fair." He said nothing. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's letting someone face the fallout of their choices, realizing the person they mocked held the reins all along. Next time someone hands me a trash bag, I'll hand them my business card. So, what are your thoughts on this story? Do you agree with what happened, or do you see it differently? Let us know your opinion in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. See you in the next one.